Hello, chat room. Let's see. How did we do on the list of people? Let's look at our analytics. How many of you were on there? Quite a few. 105 are there still concurrent, with quite a few on there as well. I don't get to see that. It's over on, you don't get to see that either because I'm not showing it to you. There you go. A little bit going on. This is the YouTube live control room. Their live control room is where I start the streaming and stop the streaming. I actually start it here and I send it to YouTube. There's a button right here at the top that says stream. Off it goes. And it gets to YouTube, but they don't show it to you yet. They wait and they show it to you once I hit this button that says start streaming. Now it's a stop. It says start streaming. And then that's when you start to see it. So I can already check to see how the stream is going to look before I send it to you. If anybody's ever wanted to do a YouTube live stream, it's so easy. You'd send them information, they send it out everywhere else. And then they give you updates on how it's going. And you can listen in on there and do those types of things. Very useful to have that there. There were a couple of people that called in. They dropped off. I'm sorry. I tried to get to you during a time that would make sense. But the room is still open. If somebody wanted to call in, they certainly could on, I guess, the post show. I'll be here for a few minutes. There's because it is now 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time for those pieces. I was, should probably put the chat right down on my screen. That way I can watch when the callers are calling in. There we go. Gives me a way to do that. I'm sorry I was not able to answer people sending chats to me directly during the study group. One of those, it's hard to type and answer those as the study group is going on. So some of you, I'm afraid I just hit the X button on. Some of you, I opened up the chat, but obviously was not able to type back to you to be able to do that. And boy, quite a lot of other chatting going on. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get there. And appreciate the folks in the chat room that were putting up information as I was putting the links up. You were doing that as well. Oh, Australia. You're definitely early in the morning. What a trooper for hanging in there so far away at such a different time frame. Thanks for joining us. I last study group, the Network Plus, I wore my Melbourne Demons shirt. Just so I was going to pull it out again, but I had just worn it. I need to get an updated shirt. I need to get a bunch of other shirts. We were talking in the chat room before we started the study group that I watch no sports. I got no time. I got this going on. So I really didn't have a way to go through and even understand what I don't know what the good teams are. I don't know what the bad teams are. I don't know what any of the teams are. But I did visit Australia a number of years ago and hopped from Sydney to Melbourne. And I got to go to a preseason game of the Demons when I was in Melbourne, and I grabbed a shirt. And so I wear my Melbourne Demons shirt around Florida. Nobody knows what it is. And quite honestly, I don't really keep up with it either. I go D's. That's all I do. But it's ironic. I wear it as irony. Except they're now my team because I don't look at any other sports. So they're my team. I really was hoping I would be there when it was cricket season, because I would love to go to a cricket match. But I just didn't. Isn't that ironic? I just don't like to watch American sports for some reason, but some other types of sports around the world are just fascinating to me. Maybe it's the uniqueness of it being that. So in the chat room, one of the very common questions I get all the time is, hey, can I just watch these videos and then I'd be able to pass the entire exam? And I don't recommend that. There is a series of frequently asked questions files out on the Professor Messer website, and we'll try to get rid of, as everybody may not be able to do this because everybody is sending me chat requests. There is professormesser.com/FAQ. Let me find the right feed for this. And out there on the frequently asked questions, the first one or second one here is, can I pass my certification by just watching these videos? So you do have a way to at least see. I'm at least trying to get you the answer to the question. The quick answer is people have, but I don't recommend that. I highly recommend that you get a book, that you get a good QA reference, that you use every resource available to you to be able to do that. I think that's an important consideration in studying for anything. Why would you just use one thing? That doesn't even make sense. You want to use as many things as you can. That's a very good example of using other things. And use the videos. Use a good book. Use other videos. Use everything. My videos are free, so you can watch them. These are videos that were created specifically to allow you to pass the A+. But I can see my videos and read a book and get different information from both of those resources. I think it becomes pretty important to be able to do that. Let's see, did I get other questions that I just did not go through? Let's pull up my question list from this study group. Where would that be? It would be, what qualifications do I have? Well, I have a camera, so there's that. I have these, whenever I do a certification, I always go through the certification piece, and I learn what's there, and I take the certification exam myself. So that's important. But there are other certifications exams. I talked about this last month. I had to take, 2 months ago, I had to take an industry certification exam. Last month, I took an industry certification exam. And it's for many and varied things. There's networking, there's security things that I do. Some of them I'm doing because I want to know more about a particular topic. And later on, I might want to create a course. So I go through and learn all I can about that, get the certification, and then maybe start writing courseware around that particular certification type. So I'm always thinking about what the next set of videos will be, the next set of topics. So there's that consideration that I'm thinking about. So most of what I do these days don't require certifications, but a lot of what I do, there are some that I've gotten that are specific to networking and specific to security that I'm focused on, and I'm being intentionally vague because I kind of keep that part of my world over there, and I keep this part of the world right here. I do have Linux Plus videos. I uploaded 3 more last week. I would love to do more. I would love to do an entire Linux Plus course. So I'm working on that. I'd love to do a study group around security. I'd love to do a study group around Linux. I'd love to do a study group around Microsoft Windows 7 deployments and configurations, the 7680. I'd love to do study groups just on anything, on the news of technology this week. I'd love to do just live streams of taking phone calls. But it's all about time. It's all about the rotation of the Earth and its movement around the sun, and the laws of physics becomes a bit of a challenge. So I'm currently limiting myself to just A+ and Network Plus. In the future, I would love to do more. And if I have a way to be able to do that, to have the time available to do that, I will certainly be taking advantage of that. But currently, not so much. Just don't have the cycles. Just don't have an ability to make all of those things happen, unfortunately. My Alliance or Horde, I started Alliance and then I moved Horde. So currently I think everything is Horde that I have. I do have some older Alliance ones, but everything that I do on my machine is effectively Horde related. So that should give you an idea anyway of what's going on. I really popped in there pretty quick, didn't it? What's going on? What? I don't know what you're talking about. Huh? I'm just curious as to what that could possibly be. So I do. No books for me, Kev. I did write a book. I had a book on Nmap called The Secret of Network Cartography, a comprehensive guide to Nmap, where I went through all of my, I took every Nmap scan, I captured the packets, and I described how it worked. And I thought it'd be a couple days. It ended up being 6 months, and I wrote that book and published it. And it got just involved, and I didn't want to update it. It's a very involved process to write a book. You think just write it down, you're done, but it takes a lot to write a book. There's a ton of research that you have to do. You have to double check everything. I didn't have an editor. I probably could have gotten one. I published myself. And that's one of those things that is so time consuming. It's much more fun and actually more financially useful to me to do videos. It's a technology that I work pretty well with. I've spent time putting together, the studio. It's one that is much. It's really along the lines of what I like to do. And I think if you're doing anything in technology, you should do what you like to do and just do it as well as you possibly can. And although writing books was interesting, and I like that I was able to write that book and publish it, I like doing videos much better. So I'm going to keep doing videos and focus on doing that. It's one of those things. Now, Chris asked, is it possible to load the latest iOS on a virtual machine? Possible, and within the end user licensing agreement are two different things. Apple will allow a virtualized version of iOS in certain versions of Mac OS, which I understand kind of defeats the purpose for what most people are asking about. If you are running Mac OS, why would you need to virtualize Mac OS? That's not what you're trying to do. Obviously, there are things that are useful to virtualize Mac OS on Mac OS, but I think most people are asking, I'm running Windows. I'd love to learn more about Mac OS if I could just load it up in a virtual machine and run it there. Mac OS obviously runs on an Intel platform. Technically speaking, I'm sure someone could do that. However, it violates the terms of Apple's end user licensing agreement and therefore would not be legal to be able to do that. Bummer to be able to have that happen. So I've absolutely seen on the net VMs already built for Mac OS that you could run. It violates the end user license agreement. You just need to be careful about what you're doing if you were to do something like that, because it would not be good. Now, the virtualized iOS, which I think is what Chris was talking about, which of course Robert's now getting to that, or that piece, absolutely can be run. Again, you can virtualize iOS on a Mac OS operating system. And we did do that last month. In fact, do I have my Xcode up? Xcode, I'll just run it right now. I'll run it right now. Who cares it was last week? I'm doing it right now. I just loaded a new Xcode when the new updates came out. So let me even update these components. Xcode is Microsoft, or not Microsoft's, listen to me. It's Apple's code piece. Got a lot going on here. What have I been doing? And here you can see where I've been working. See, it's important. Okay, we're going to put that over there. We're going to install some components. Hey, it's done. Thank you. Under Xcode, you've got things that you can do, developer tools, and one of them is an iOS simulator, which none of you can read. There we go. Xcode, they have a developer tool for iOS called the iOS simulator that puts this on the screen. There it is. It updated it for iOS 7. This is how you can virtualize and run iOS right on your desktop. So you could write applications and load them up on here before you ever put them on a real device and see how they run. And it's the same iOS that anyone run. But again, this only works in Mac OS. There is no Xcode virtualized iOS for anything in Windows or Linux or anything else, other operating system you can come up with. So here's Tallahassee. So you can run it. It works exactly like, a regular system. You can hold down the keys to zoom in as if you had two fingers on it and rotate around. It's kind of nifty. Really cool. All the same options are available. Can I come up from the bottom? Can I do that? Whoops. I'm not very good at using this as a tool there. Let's do a hybrid. Yeah, see? It's pretty cool. So this is what I found useful. Went too far. This is what I found useful to be able to get a feel for how to use an operating system without using the operating system. I don't have an Android device that I can easily use to plug into a video screen and show you what's on the Android device. So in my videos for mobile devices, I have both the iOS simulator and the Android simulator running. Android much easier to simulate on any operating system, Mac, Windows, Linux. There are versions of that available. Very, very useful. If you are going to really run any other operating system on here, virtualize it. This is a great way to run an operating system. So some folks in the chat are saying, how about I want to run Linux, but I'm running Windows right now. Absolutely. If you look at my installing the operating system's videos, installing Windows XP, installing Windows Vista, installing Windows 7, I show you how to step through and use VirtualBox to be able to do that. You can use VirtualBox. That's a free client virtualization software that you can run on your computer. You could run VMware, has a VMware workstation. I think it's VMware Player. Maybe Workstation is available now for free. I'm trying to keep up on the Windows side. Great technologies. I also run on my Mac when I'm doing my Linux videos. I'm running VMware's. There's a lot of stuff going on here, isn't there? I'm running VMware's Fusion. So I've got my Fusion library set up to run different Linux versions. Got quite a few here. So if I wanted to run OpenSUSE 64-bit 12.3, I can just start it up, and it's actually running on the other screen. There it is. I like this operating system, or this version of virtualization from VMware, the Fusion, because I can, as you saw, I can zoom up, which makes it exceptionally easy. If I'm trying to demonstrate something, I can not just make it full screen, but I can make it whatever size I want, and then it will, so you can see, make it whatever I'd like to do there, which gives me a lot of control when I'm doing these videos. I like to have a lot of control over what I'm doing, and I can also do full screen. Can I do full screen with the right keys? There we go. Now it's full screen. Now it looks like I'm on a system. I don't know if I have a login there. Here we go. And then work with whatever I've got going on that Linux machine. So that's, now I'm running Linux, and I'm in a Mac operating system, but it's running this version of Linux. Not just Linux, but this specific OpenSUSE 64-bit version 12.3. And I needed that specific version because I wanted to demonstrate a feature. Maybe it was Grub 2, and I wanted to load up that version and do it. So I've got all of these different versions. I've got OpenSUSE, CentOS. I've got 64. There's Ubuntu. There's TTY Linux. There's Core Plus. I was just trying different things. Let's throw it up, see what happens. This is great for doing that. Load it up in your VirtualBox, see what happens. You can't break your operating system. It puts everything into a file, one big file. So simple to run that. So if you ever want to try Linux, load it up in a VM. There's a number of VMs that are already ready to go. Just install and go. And you're up and running. A G4 Mac running a virtual machine is probably too old. There are some, especially for 64-bit operating systems, there are a number of things that you might want to consider having available in your CPU so that it will run properly. I talk about some of those virtualization capabilities for both Intel and AMD on my virtualization video. Talked about last month, right, in the study group. So go look at the replay for last month. I think it's talked about that then as well. But those are a lot of fun. Yeah, my Windows 7 videos, the whole thing, Active Directory, the separate clients I had, the deployment things that I was doing was all done on Mac OS in virtual machines. It was all done in VirtualBox. Made it very, very easy. Whenever I need a domain controller, okay, boom, there's a domain controller. Oh, I need a client to go along with that? Let's load one up. Put the software in and install it. Very, very easy. A lot of the VMs to install from the net would be are very Linux related. If you just look for Linux VMs, generally I'll look for Linux VirtualBox or Linux VMware, depending on which one you're using. You'll find a lot of places to go. Oh yes, and Hyper-V is free on Windows. Windows also has its own virtualization technology with clients. So very useful. Yeah, the virtual machines, absolutely go out there and search for those VMs. Very nice to have those available too. Got a lot that's there. So what other things do we have? Hello, chat room. Did anybody ever call in? I hid that thing. Nope, no call-ins. That's okay. Doesn't cost anything if nobody calls in. But it does that 800 number. I went ahead and paid for an 800 number so we could do that. Have that there so anybody can call in from wherever they are in the world. I should probably just stick that on the screen and promote a little more and keep people calling in. It's not really a call-in show, is it? It's kind of a call-in show, but not really. I should probably do something along those lines. Or it's just a call-in show. Okay. What other things do we have? There was a, since you asked about virtualization and where to get a VMware Linux image. There's quite a few out there. I just went to, and one thing you do have to be aware of, if you're downloading a image of Linux off of the internet, you're downloading a already pre-made VMware running system or already pre-made Oracle VirtualBox running system. You need to be very, very careful about where you're getting it from. It should be a very trusted source. That'd be a great way to infect your local environment, is to pull up something that somebody created with a bunch of malware on it, a bunch of attacks on it, and then you'd be in trouble. To be able to work with that, that's always a challenge to make that happen. To have that there. So build it yourself. I think that's one of the best things you can do, actually, is build it yourself. Go through the installation, understand what's going to be asked of you when you're installing Linux, and that way you know that it is very, very safe to be able to use because you're the one that created it. Very, very useful. Have that there. All right. Well, we've come to, I think, the end of our show for today. I've got this I need to edit. I'll have both the normal study group hour that I will have available on the net shortly, and I will absolutely have the after show I usually make available too. It's usually on the same page, so you can find out and sift through that as well. And if anybody needs anything else, I'll be in the chat room today. Be checking in there tonight. I don't have all the contact us at the top of the page is a great way to get in touch with me as well. So if anybody needs that CE information, you need to be able to get that certificate or have me complete information so that you get credits. I'm more than happy to do that as well. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us for the study group. Thanks for being here in the after show. I'll see you next week. We'll do the Network Plus study group too. We'll see you then.